Good afternoon. I thank Brand SA for the invite and for the opportunity to be part of this important discussion. The high-level panel report on the economic empowerment of women states that investing in women's economic empowerment is intrinsic to achieving the Sustainable Development Goals, the SDGs. While SDG 5 may focus on gender equality, this fundamental issue cuts across all 17 SDGs. Hence, there can be no sustainable development without the economic advancement of women. An International Trade Center, the ITC survey of 20 developing countries reveals striking disparities between men's and women's participation in trade. Only 1 in 5 businesses that trade internationally are owned or managed by a woman. Such gender differences are generally attributed to the fact that female-owned businesses lack the resources that are needed to expand into global markets. New trends in global trade, especially the rise in services, the importance of global value chains, and the digital economy are opening up important economic opportunities for women. The COVID-19 pandemic has highlighted the importance of these and the need for local and regional production hubs in key sectors of the economy to address South Africa as well as Africa's strategic vulnerabilities. Women must take their rightful place in the economy, and trade has the potential to achieve this important objective. National initiatives are necessary to promote female entrepreneurship and trade. And these must be targeted at addressing the barriers that limit women's participation in trade. They must promote financial inclusion and access to trade finance and enhance the participation of women enterprises in public procurement. Public procurement is one of the key policy tools that South Africa continues to use to promote localization and industrialization. For countries to trade on a sustainable basis, they must produce. There is a need to increase the participation of women in the manufacturing sector. The Department of Trade, Industry and Competition, the DTIC, has sector-specific incentive programs that are targeted and can support women-led enterprises to be competitive. The information on these programs is available on the DTIC website, and there is a guide that lists all the available programs, including the requirements and conditions for funding. The incentives are applicable to all firms that are based in South Africa. Therefore, do not discriminate as long as company is producing in South Africa. For companies that are interested to invest, we have established Invest SA, a division of the DTIC that focuses on investment promotion, facilitation, and aftercare. It aims to improve the investment climate and ease of doing business. The facilitation and aftercare function is a dedicated service to coordinate, fast-track, unblock, and reduce red tape in government. Invest SA, therefore, serves as a one-stop shop for investors. In order to understand the global trade environment and the opportunities that it provides, one has to understand the global trade rules and specific standards to be met in exporting a product to a specific market, especially in relation to agriculture, which has applicable sanitary and phytosanitary measures. Both the DTIC as well as the Department of Agriculture Rural Development provide support in this regard. The DTIC also has an exporter development program that assists especially MSMEs as well as women-led enterprises to access international markets. It also organizes trade and investment missions that give exposure to international markets. Distinguished participants, South Africa is a party to a number of preferential trade agreements that either provide duty-free treatment or preferential access to key strategic markets. In Africa, these include the Southern Africa Customs Union, which allows duty-free intra-SACU trade with a common external tariff applicable to goods entering from outside the Union. SACU includes Botswana, Eswatini, Lesotho, Namibia, and of course, South Africa. We also have free trade agreements with the Southern Africa Development Community, which includes 15 Southern African states. The tripartite FTA with COMESA, EAC, and SADC, which constitutes 2/3 of the African market. And we are also party to the recently launched African Continental FTA, which will enable free movement of goods and services across the continent, as well as unlock a market of 1.3 billion people. The AfCFTA is an important development that will spur growth across the continent. And even before the launch of the AfCFTA, the African market was very important and strategic for South Africa, accounting for over 27% of our global exports. Globally, we have the following free trade agreements: an economic partnership agreement with the European Union, an FTA with EFTA, which includes Switzerland and Liechtenstein and Norway, an FTA with the UK, a preferential trade agreement, which is a limited scope agreement that covers just over 1,000 tariff lines with South American countries through Mercosur, which includes Brazil. Last but not least, we have access to the US market through the African Growth and Opportunities Act, AGOA. And all of these agreements provide huge market access opportunities for companies that are based in South Africa. To ensure that trade enhances opportunities for everyone, regardless of gender, we need to assess the potential impact of trade rules and develop policy responses that are based on evidence. South Africa, therefore, does not believe in paying lip service to the integration of women-led enterprises, but believes in addressing the core barriers that affect the effective integration of women-led enterprises in trade. The World Trade Organization plays an important part, and we are part of the WTO, and it facilitates a conducive trade policy environment. The WTO is a forum where members, including South Africa, negotiate and agree upon non-discriminatory and facilitative trade rules that govern global trade. While none of the agreements specifically focus on women empowerment, the institution provides a transparent and predictable environment which protects businesses, including those that are run by women, from the risk and uncertainty created by opaque and unpredictable trade rules. The WTO is led by a dynamic as well as well-respected African woman in DG Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala. More specifically, the WTO members are increasingly introducing national trade policy interventions that seek to empower women. Between 2014 and 2018, almost 70% of all trade policy reviews reported at least one trade policy that supports women economic empowerment. As I said, the WTO ensures predictability in trade. However, we are concerned that there are inequities and imbalances in some of the existing multilateral trade rules that constrain effective participation of women-led enterprises in global trade. And these lock in first-mover advantages to key industrialized nations. For instance, some rules diminish the possibility for technology transfer, some constrain the use of localization, which is a key policy tool for industrialization, or limit the policy space needed to nurture infant industries. These allow the first movers to keep leading positions in sectors of importance to developing countries or in emerging industries, including high-tech, knowledge-intensive industries deemed critical for future prosperity. For women-led enterprises to thrive and for them to be effectively integrated in global trade, we need to address these imbalances. And this means rebalancing trade rules and reform the WTO for inclusivity and development. This necessitates the recognition that trade is not an end in itself, but trade rules must be designed to raise standards of living, ensure full employment, and promote sustainable development and inclusivity as envisaged in the agreement establishing the WTO. At an international level, the ITC has mainstreamed women empowerment into its work through the Women in Trade program. This initiative seeks to increase the participation of women entrepreneurs and producers in global value chains and ensure that they enjoy greater economic benefits from participating in international trade. For example, the ITC has the She Trades initiative, which seeks to galvanize global efforts to connect 1 million women entrepreneurs to access international markets. Through the SheTrades mobile app, women entrepreneurs can share information about their companies, increase their visibility, and expand their networks. The online platform is user-friendly and can be accessed via www.shetrades.com. The initiative also fosters collaboration between business support
heroine and human rights campaigner in the name of Me Charlotte Manya Maxeke. So 2021 is regarded as the year of Charlotte Maxeke by the government of South Africa. So ladies and gentlemen, what we're trying to do today, close the gap that research has revealed to us. We see that firms with majority female ownership are less in global markets than their male counterparts. And so there's been research that has been done by the OCO Global, and they say that there are 3 reasons for this occurrence. The first is that as of the end of last year, only 47% of women participated in the global labor force, in comparison to 74% of men. And the second reason is that globally, only 1 in 3 businesses are owned by women, and these companies tend to be small and often operate in the informal sector. The third reason that also Global states is that women-owned firms are vastly underrepresented in international trade, with only 15% of those companies exporting from their country. So this is the gap that we are trying to address today, to make sure that women are active participants and equal players in global trade. Now, to start off the conversation, we have our esteemed speaker in the form of Ms. Anne Githuku Shongwe. She is the United Nations Women Representative for South Africa's Multi-Country Office. This is referred to as SAMCO in short. This is the office which is responsible for women's empowerment and gender equality in Botswana, Lesotho, Swaziland and Namibia, as well as South Africa, where this office is being based. Anne brings with her role 20 years of experience as a senior international development professional, including the United Nations Development Program across Africa, and also managing United States scholarships for African graduate scholars. And can you please share with us the programs that the United Nations, particularly UN Women, has initiated in terms of empowering women so that they can be able to operate on a global scale?
Thank you so much, Pumela, and good morning, good afternoon to all the those who are present. And I just want to recognize the DDG who spoke so profoundly about the work, her work with WTO. And really